I always had this feeling that Sentinels would come back at some point, but I didn't think it would be as drastic as it was at Kansas City. They really blew everyone out of the water, so much to a point where we've had all of these amazing rosters pop up, which I'll be honest, that's a whole different discussion, but I wanted to talk about the HCS NA Super coming up. For those of you who don't know, it's actually this weekend, and it's an online event, even though a lot of teams are traveling to Texas to actually play there. Pretty much every top team I could think of are going to be in the Dallas area. So even though it is online, there really won't be much of a connection advantage. Still though, you're not going to have the crowd, you're not going to have that insane pressure when it comes to playing in a live environment. So that's one thing to note. The main question that I have here is, can Sentinels continue their run? Because you have a lot of new teams gunning for their neck. Granted, a lot of them are very new, so it's going to be very interesting to see how these new dynamics fare, especially with a team like G1, for instance, who's been performing really well recently when a lot of teams took their break. Anyways though, looking at Pool A, we have Sentinels, eUnited, Complexity, and Crowd Pleasers. Looking at this group, I'm fairly confident that Sentinels will get first. I really don't have any doubt in my mind. Although this new eUnited roster definitely excites me. I've been seeing a lot of people kind of brush them off to the side, but we really don't know how this team's going to perform, and I think a player like Suspector, he finally decided that it's time to take a step away from Kratos, and now he has this awesome opportunity on a top 5 team, joined with Manny, who in my opinion is one of the top players to come out from this season. This is a very interesting lineup of some very slow players and some very fast players. So honestly, I think it's a winning formula. I think it really is. Still, you know, we're gonna have to see how they play. I do think even though they do look nasty, they're still too new. I think they're still too new to beat Sentinels this early. Complexity is another team that looks really, really good. Their new pickups, Neuronical and Cycle, definitely two very, very good up-and-coming players. But still, when it comes to top 2 in this group, I would pick Sentinels and eUnited. Complexity, I do have beating out Crowd Pleasers, which, you know, I didn't even realize we're going to have a Kratos versus Suspector matchup in this group, so that should be a fun match to watch. Moving on to Pool B, though, first match that pops up immediately to everyone, we're going to have Renegade versus his old roster. We have Cloud9 versus FaZe, which both of these teams, since the very beginning of the season, have been my favorite 2 teams. I love all the players on both teams, and I think this FaZe roster is honestly crazy. We basically have a team comprised of top talent slayers. And granted, Snipedown has taken a more reserved, objective role recently. Snipedown's still Snipedown, and he has that new fire. He definitely can step up when needed. And you know, I've talked to some people about this. When I see this lineup, I see this as Renegade's opportunity. This is Renegade's opportunity to prove that he is the quote-unquote best player in the game. And you know, I'm not saying that he is, I'm just saying that from his perspective, you have a brand new team of 3 all-star players. Take this opportunity to prove that you are once and for all the best player in the game, no questions asked. So I think that Renegade storyline going into this Super and really until Worlds is going to be very interesting to see how that pans out, because he can either rise to the top or they can fall very easily. I can see this FaZe team kind of crumbling. With all of that said though, when it comes to Cloud9 versus FaZe, you gotta go Cloud9. That core 3, even with Renegade being replaced, is still super, super solid. And honestly, I see Bound as a player who has this brand new opportunity. I've been talking about Renegade. Bound's storyline is insanely interesting too. He has to fit in the shoes of the presumed best player in the game. And honestly, I think he can do it. I think it's gonna take some guidance. I'm really trusting that a player like Eco can really mold Bound into that player that he's destined to become. With all that said, I do think Cloud9 takes first in this group. FaZe getting a comfortable second, and I'm going to be predicting an upset here. I'm going to be having Need and Org taking it over Oxygen for the 3rd place spot. Okay, so Pool C. So the story with Pool C is G1. G1, which I didn't even mention from the FaZe segment. Bubu was dropped. Bubu was dropped from FaZe, and when all hope seemed lost, he tried out a few different teams, and he found his way on this G1 roster, and they've been looking stellar. For anyone who hasn't had the opportunity to keep up, G1's been pretty much winning every single HCS Open HCS has been hosting. Granted, pretty much every top team hasn't been competing in these tournaments, but I do think it's interesting and an opportunity for G1 to prove that they are as good as they've been placing. Still though, I think for a first matchup when we have Pool C, going against OpTic is going to be a death wish. OpTic has been looking as good as ever. They are deadly. I'm having OpTic taking this group pretty pretty handedly, and I don't think it's a really far-fetched statement. When it comes to Fnatic, I'll be honest, I do think that Fnatic has taken a hit ever since Envoy left. They are still very good, but when it comes to their consistency, I haven't really seen it as prevalent as it was before. For whatever reason, they never really perform well online at all. And I do think it's very interesting because Envoy is actually in this pool. He's on Forbidden Fruit, and I'm gonna call another upset here. I think even though Fnatic plays way better on LAN, when it comes to online, they are at their most vulnerable, and I think a player like Envoy, who is going to be playing lights out guaranteed, is going to take advantage. I'm having Forbidden Fruit taking third in this group. And then we have Pool D, which Pool D is really the most unpredictable group, I would say. You have a somewhat new Pioneers. Again, Manny decided to take a walk to eUnited, and we basically had a Manny-Nick swap. And I'll be honest, I was kind of hoping that the core roster would stick it out until the end of Worlds, but they decided they needed a change, and let's respect that. Let's see how this team does. What I do think is very interesting about this group, which some people might not know about, is G2. G2, for anyone who has been looking at their roster, they have a TBA, an unknown player who will be joining the rest of Gilkey, Sabinater, and Straightsick. For those of you who have been keeping up, you definitely know what player this is going to be, and for those who don't know, I'll tell you right now. It's going to be Barcode. Barcode actually flew over from Australia, and I don't know if he's living in the States, but he's definitely playing here for this HCS Super coming up. So I think that this is an insane opportunity for Barcode to really make his name known in the NA scene, because he is essentially the Renegade of Australia. An undisputed insane talent. You saw how well he played in that Lucid versus Renegade matchup, and now he has this opportunity to play with top NA players. I think when you have a combination of Sabinater and Barcode, that is a team of insane slaying power, no matter how you put it. That team is going to be nasty. And I'll be honest, I have high hopes. I think that this is Barcode's time to shine. I'm going to say that G2 will take it over Pioneers in this group. When it comes to Lions in Space Station, there is a bit of a revenge tour here too. For those of you who might not know, Lions actually beat Space Station for a qualifying match to get into pool play, and Space Station had to play through a whole open bracket to even get the opportunity to play here. So when it comes to another grudge match, this is definitely one to keep an eye out for. And I think that in a situation like this, when the stakes are higher, veteran players are going to do veteran things. And I think that Space Station will win this time around, but I do think that Pioneers will still win that matchup against them. So I'm having Pioneers coming second, Space Station third, and Lions fourth. So that does it for my pool play matchups. Again, I do think this tournament is going to be insanely entertaining to watch. Unfortunately, I will miss the first 2 days. I'll be in California filming for work, but I will definitely be watching on Championship Sunday, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how a lot of these new teams play. My two teams specifically that I'm going to be looking at closely is FaZe and G1. I'm really interested to see how they play. But if I were to give in overall predictions for the event, 5th, 6th, I'm going to be having G1 and eUnited. 4th place, I'm going to be having FaZe Clan. I do think that their team is a little bit too new to match up with the top 3. 3rd place, I'm having Cloud9. And 2nd place, I'm having Sentinels, and that leaves OpTic with 1st place. And I'll say it right now, if OpTic does not win this event, I think they're in trouble. You have a team who willingly decided to not make a team switch in a time when pretty much every top team was making one. Even Sentinels was ready to drop LethuL for Renegade. They trust in their team, so I'm trusting that they made the right decision for the future of the lineup. And the only reason I'm saying that they're in trouble if they don't win this event is because this event is online. And I don't want to be the person to pin OpTic as an online team, but we have seen it firsthand where OpTic performs one way online and another way on LAN. And I will say that LAN gives the ability for other teams to really shine. Like a team like Sentinels or Cloud9, they really open up when placed in that environment. A team like OpTic hasn't really seen that shine yet. For whatever reason, when it comes to having an audience or just having that in-person interaction, they haven't quite figured it out. But when it comes to this tournament specifically, this is their comfort zone. This is where I expect OpTic to play their best Halo, and they've won high-stake online tournaments in the past. I expect this to be another one. That said, I'm having OpTic Gaming as the champions for the HCS NA Super. Like I said, I think this tournament is going to be crazy fun to watch. I'm definitely excited to see how things go down in Championship Sunday. Please, I encourage any predictions in the comments down below. I'd love to see what you guys think is going to happen for this tournament. content. The highlights might be a little bit late in this one since I will be away this weekend. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you guys next time.